Hello everyone, this is the Gamification Report this week, episode 7. We're broadcasting live, well, sort of live, recorded from Humber College Center for Teaching and Learning. I'm David Chandross. I'll be your host this week. We're going to be discussing some really interesting topics this week, areas that we don't normally associate with virtual reality or gamification, design of smart cities using gamification, politics of gamification in cities, the psychology of gamification, and martial arts and virtual reality. Let's get cooking. Smart cities and gamification, a very big topic that's very exciting for this. Robert Olezeski in 2018 published an article in which he's trying to look at a game that solves transport problems in a smart cities office district. This was all based in Poland. They have what they call the Mordor of Poland, which is downtown Poland at rush hour. I think we've got a Mordor in Los Angeles. We certainly have one in Toronto. I bet you all have your own little Mordor. And that is the idea of building a game that would reduce the number of cars to alleviate traffic jams, curb pollution, and curb energy consumption. This is not unlike a scene we might find in any urban center today. So what he did is ran a series of simulations on a set of 100,000 agents, that's 100,000 cars or people, and he had a game, and the game was based on a lottery. So based on your lottery outcome, you would be allowed to use a car on that day, or you'd have to use a bicycle or public transport. It would gamify the process of transportation, and they wanted to try to produce some kind of proposed solution to decrease the number of cars in use and decrease energy consumption. I think we all see the value of a game something like this. Remember, self-driving cars are coming on board. And what kind of smart cities are we going to have that can handle traffic flow and can make it a little easier for us to get around? So by auctioning available cards, even the simplest type of auction that he simulated resulted in the reduction of the number of cars by half, where 2 passengers travel in 40% of cars, 3 passengers in 24, and more than 3 passengers in 14% of cars. So by adding a game element in terms of the number of cars available to use, people would comply with this game, and in the simulations we had some great results to deal with these proverbial problems of traffic jams. This opens up the next area that we're going to look at today, which is the gamification cities in general, and some great work by Alberto Vinolo in 2018. He had a mobile app called Julebug, which was designed to encourage sustainable living by proposing to the users a number of simple green tasks: turning off electric lights, setting power settings in your PC, and taking shorter showers. And users generally received action points by acting in proper ways. They received experience points. They had monthly challenges. They could socialize through the app and connect with other people in the form of what we call social credits. It was also possible to receive bonuses and points by sharing great photos, comments, and ideas and sustainable behaviors. It is possible for us to create connected, lovely, harmonious cities if we can all find ways to make things work. And the way we make things work using gamification seem to be much more effective than public information campaigns. There were charts produced in the app, virtual trophies, badges, and medals, which are updated and exhibited so that you could tell your friends on Facebook and Google+, look at me, I'm an energy saver. Others, they were encouraged to compete with one another, to be recognized as a sustainable citizen. It doesn't sound like much, but based on the work that we know on badging and learning, is that badges have a profound effect on performance. So hats off to getting at a very, very interesting way to look at sustainable living. And what this does is bring up an interesting topic that we're working with right now called pervasive gaming. Now, the idea here is that gamification can blur the boundaries separating game and ordinary life. So this is called pervasive gaming. Pervasive gaming is a type of gaming when you're so connected to the game itself and that the game is connected to reality that you're actually making changes in reality when you produce changes in the game. That's kind of what we've seen in the last 2 apps, but pervasive gaming can be very, very powerful. It becomes that you're living almost in a symbolic world, and in that symbolic world, everything you do actually changes your real-life behaviors. This is the basis of some of our work that we've done in addiction medicine. It's this idea of nudge through gaming. Human decisions are driven by emotions or by mobilization of repetitive behaviors. And Thaler Miller and Sunstein had argued that behaviors are driven by developing choice architectures. So when you're actually in a pervasive game, you make decisions in the game world which affect the outcome in the real world, like when a giant Pokemon animal is in the way and it's stopping traffic for miles. Games can be used as a subversion of the urban, and this is détournement, which was prominently used to set up subversive political pranks as an influential topic. This is where a Marlboro sign was converted by pranksters to say it's a bore, to make a comment on the pervasive use of cigarette ads. And so this is the whole concept that we've tried to look at of using games as a subversive element to create social change and to try to get us to look at the world in whole, fresh, new ways. This begs a whole new set of questions which have to do with the psychology of gamification, how deeply it can really work. And we're only beginning to explore this area now. This is the work by Rob Van Roy and Mike Zeman in 2018, in which it's not been published. We've seen the pre-publication copy, and that is Unraveling Motivational Power of Gamification, and there hasn't been enough work done on this. The study attempted to look at the fact that group competition is designed to foster feelings of relatedness. So we're feeling great, we're in a group, we're in a team, we're doing well, but it also diminished feelings of competence in their studies. If your team is not doing well in rankings or you're doing low on a leaderboard, you begin to feel lousy about yourself because the game is pushing you down, it's not lifting up. And then there's also these problems with autonomy. If you're working together with other students or other folks in game-based learning, for example, and your teammates keep showing up at the last minute unprepared or not showing up at all, then your autonomy goes because now you can't advance in the game because the idiot next to you will not show up or keep their word. And we find that we're being chased by giant sharks and other creatures. Suddenly the game isn't that much fun. It's just a stressful, painful experience. This we would call games gone bad. These clashes of needs have important consequences. We have one need that we want to play the game and become engaged, but we have a need also to feel that we have control, and games can remove that control if they're not designed properly. You'll be glad of the hateful things I do someday. It's a question of balance. These findings align with those in the literature showing that the risks of need frustration in educational context. Therefore, we don't want to lose the track of all the different learning needs that happen when we produce these games. So remember that games can work in a very, very toxic way if we're not able to balance our needs for autonomy and learning with our needs for intrinsic motivation. Bad kitty, good kitty, bad kitty, good kitty. We're going to finish off today looking at something that's kind of interesting that kind of has a lot of implications for it, and this is karateka, which is an autonomously interacting karate kumite character. Now, karate is now an Olympic sport. It'll be in the 2020 Olympics, and it's going to feature this fighting called kumite, and it's crazy stuff, this kumite. They knock each other down with trips, and they can use throws. It's like ultimate fighting, but it's a lot more dignified, a lot less blood and guts. So Zhang produced this game, 2018, and what you essentially do is you fight in VR with a karate competitor to see how you fare. No can defend. For the real-time interaction, a human athlete is tracked in a virtual environment, so they light them up with a suit which shows their position. It has sensors on it, and then they have these moves put into the game. Then when you put it in the VR, you're fighting this virtual character. And this past test on functionality and performance, high-ranking karate experts were unable to beat the high-ranking opponents. It's going to be possible in your home fairly soon to put on your gi like Wayne Newton in Chevy Chase's great Las Vegas Vacation, appearing with your gi and fight people in karate and see how you can beat them, and it's all going to be realistic and built into VR. I think the implications for this in so many fields where physical learning and physical development is important, we can just kick and punch till the day is through. Those weren't the only folks working on martial arts and VR. Katerina Petri's published some great papers. She's developed an autonomous character in Karate Kumite. And basically, it's a character that attacks you. You don't attack it, it attacks you. So the AC consists of selection of relevant karate techniques, decision systems, creating an animated model, and the actual evaluation of performance. And as we know in Jim Carrey's classic sketch, we might think we're good at martial arts, but maybe the VR beast will prove us wrong. Daniel-san, what they used was called an automatic virtual environment and a head-mounted display. They were both chosen, so you're wearing this head-mounted display and you're fighting characters in the game. Fascinating stuff. That's it for this week. VR and martial arts. It's coming to a theater near you. See you next week. Center for Teaching and Learning at Humber College. Have a good one.